Before we go in, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Ekin Yashin. I am the director of the Communication Leadership Program. I am thrilled to again be with you today. Today, you're going to find out a little bit about Communication Leadership Master's Program. We offer Masters of Communication degrees in digital media, in communities and networks, and in communication and leadership. We'll tell you more about that throughout this program. We are a program, as many of you know, housed in the University of Washington in Seattle. And we have been around for now 20 years. So it's not a new program. It has legacy and a very strong alumni network as well. Before I get into, again, telling you a little bit about the program, I just want to tell you about the unique format of this evening. So this evening, again, both for those of you who are participating, whatever mode you chose to join us today, we're going to take maybe 30, 40 minutes at first to introduce to you our program. So I'm going to engage and ask questions to a number of our community members, our staff, our students, and our alumni, trying to give you a sense of our program, our community, our classes, and how those in the program actually navigate their experience, how they choose this program, and then what they do after they graduate as well. We will also have time at the end of the session for your questions. We will have a structured conversation for about 30, 40 minutes, as I mentioned, but you will be able to ask your own questions throughout as well. If you're participating via Zoom, feel free to write any of your questions in chat, and we will address them at the end of the session. Or if you're in the room, I think you've been given index cards, and you can write your questions there and raise your hand, and then those in the room will collect it and type it for us. At the end of the session also, again, via Zoom, or over there in person, you will get to talk in more smaller groups and direct your questions to different members of our community, let it be students, alumni again, or staff. This will be by way of breakout rooms in Zoom at the end of the session. So you can go into different rooms and ask questions to different community members. And in the room, in the actual room in the building, those of you who are there, again, welcome. You can see that you're surrounded by multiple staff members and also students who greeted you. So you can approach them at the end of the session to have more informal conversations and ask about the program. Just a note, a couple housekeeping items. This session is being recorded, as you've heard, and as you've been warned for those of you who are on Zoom. This is for the purpose of making this recording available on our website, so that if there's a part that you may not have caught during the session, you can revisit the session. So don't worry about taking rigorous notes. We will make this session available, and it will be on our YouTube channel, as well as on our website afterwards as well, for your reference. So with that, I just want to start the session, and for my portion, I just want to give you a quick glimpse into why I am so excited to be a part of this community. And let me start with some news. And Marina, if we can get to that slide, I have some great news you may have heard about, but our program is a proud winner of a recent award. We were just selected by the leading association in America for professional and continuing education programs. We were selected as the outstanding credit program in the West region. This was due to our particular response to our education and our experiences in our graduate program, particularly during the pandemic, how we created opportunities for our students to respond to this moment, both nationally and globally, by applying their learning to help communities in need. As well as our responsive curriculum and very many ways in which we connected our community when it was a challenging moment. So I just want to announce this today to all of you who are hopefully future members of our community, that we started this year with very, very exciting news and with a recognition of our approach. And let me tell you a little bit about that approach and what makes our program very special. So for the past 20 years, this program has been very unique because we've been thinking not only about the the world we find ourselves in, but the type of world and the type of work we want to do in the future. This program is a very responsive program that really responds to key issues of our time. And that came really handy at this moment of global crises, multiple crises going on around both the pandemic, climate, around issues around racism and how we are actually experiencing very many inequities in our world. We were able to really respond to this moment because we were not doing this for the first time. From its original conception, and Marina, if you could share that slide, I just want to give you a couple ideas around the subject matters that has been very much that we discuss in our program. And Marina, if we could go one slide back, I just want to give a few kind of thematic things that we've been thinking about both in our classes and in our applied learning opportunities where our students partner with organizations and share their wisdom with the world. So, and I'm going to actually do it in the form of some questions that we have been answering that really became timely at this moment. That will be the subject matter, again, of your curriculum, of very many different opportunities in this program. The first question that we've been very much centering around for now 2 decades is how to communicate during a crisis. I don't need to explain much, but all of you know, communication is now the most sought after skill across for-profit and nonprofit organizations. And how to communicate during a crisis is actually something that everyone, no matter what they do, are thinking about. So that question is actually one of the center questions that we've been tackling in our curriculum and in our classes. So communication amidst a crisis is one way that I see our program actually leading and again, responding for a while now that really actually responded also to this moment. Another focus of our program has always been, and in this moment, again, we're thinking about novel ways of building and sustaining communities, both at work and across context. How can we build these communities? How can we connect people when they're actually experiencing different realities at work? How can we connect these communities when some people are now working at home and some people are working, again, at places of work? And then that relates to the third point that has also been central in our program is how to think about connection and collaboration. Again, we're at a moment where we're rethinking and questions about how to really collaborate and communicate when teams are distributed across the globe and across contexts becomes one of the essential questions that I'm sure you're all hearing about in the news, at your places of work, at your classes. And that has been, again, a central theme that we've been exploring for a while. Our namesake is communication and leadership. And of course, we've been posing for a while questions about the types of leadership practices we need and the types of leadership you will all display when you lead across levels at your organizations. Particularly now, we're really questioning what the next generation of leadership practices will be when we are at a moment where we want to all ensure the well-being of everyone who is at work and create structures of belonging for them. Of course, we are a communication and leadership program, and the communication practices themselves have been central as well. We've been for, again, 2 decades asking questions about how to authentically communicate about a brand, how to authentically communicate about an organization and its mission. This is still front and central in a moment where organizations and companies and brands all around the world navigate multiple realities, find themselves having to respond to multiple crises, and doing so thoughtfully and authentically. We have been thinking about this across our classes, again, for now 2 decades, and we're now really very much responding to this moment by thinking about the next generation of practices, about how to, again, engage with brands in an authentic and purposeful way. Many of you may already be familiar that we are one of the pioneering storytelling programs in the region and around the globe. And that has also been a way in which many communities at work across the globe, across contexts, have been trying to make sense of the moment. How can we use stories to ignite change? How can we tell stories that motivate us, that gives us a sense of this moment. Many of our students, and you'll hear about that too, and alumni have used this moment to capture this moment, to document this moment, and to also use their stories to give a sense of what organizations, brands, different nonprofit entities, different causes are doing and are making sense of this moment. Last but not least, of course, amidst all of this is a sensibility that we have across our curriculum and experiences, where we're also trying to make sense of what it means to design and cultivate technologies in this moment. This program, from its original conception, have always been about making sense of emerging technologies and trends. But in this moment, we're even more meaningful, we're more thoughtful, more meaningful about this, where we're trying to make sense of how and which technologies should emerge. How should we communicate and respond to those technology makers, or if you're in those organizations, how do you challenge them to create more ethical, inclusive, and accessible tools of the future? I just wanted to give you a sense of these questions because these are all very timely. These are all about the current of our work and the future of our work. One of the things that I'm really proud of is that our program really makes sense of everything by way of thinking about it across time and context and across communities and in a really truly global fashion. Today's conversation, I think, will give you more sense of our program. So I wanted to start with giving you a broad picture of these conceptual things that we're thinking about, and I haven't done justice to all the different subject matters that we think about across context and to talk to each other about. But I want to start our conversation today, and I'm going to, at first, turn it over to Jazz Espiritu, who's the head of our program affairs. I talked a little bit about Jazz, the broad concepts, but I want to really engage with you because one of the things that I hear from both our students and alumni is how special our community is. Our community is very strong. Our community was very strong during also the pandemic. And now that we're somewhat back together in person too, we're experiencing that community yet again. So please share with us what makes our community strong.
Of course. Thank you, Akin. Hello, everyone. My name is Jazz Espiritu. Again, I use he and him pronouns, and I'm head of program affairs here at Comm Lead. And a lot of the work that I do is managing the team operations for our staff, but also leading a lot of the community building initiatives that we hold here for our students in Comm Lead. And I'm thrilled to share with you a number of community building initiatives we've established for students to get to know one another and really what makes our community so strong. We are fortunate to have an energetic community built in various parts, specifically students, alumni, staff, and faculty. Some of the initiatives that we put forward, especially during these pandemic times, you can see right here on the slide, but CommLink is one method we've established during pandemic times. And CommLink is a peer-to-peer program designed to connect first-year CommLead students with current students who may share the same values, identities, and or like personal and professional experiences. After taking a short questionnaire, we pair you with a current student who best matches what you're looking for. This is a great opportunity to meet someone else in the program and ask questions about their experiences in Comm Lead. So that is an initiative that came out of a lot of like these Zoom meetings and Zoom classrooms. Another initiative that came out of the pandemic was establishing our very own Discord server. For folks who aren't familiar with Discord, it's an online platform that builds engagement around communities through various chat and voice channels. It's actually often used in a lot of video gaming and streaming spaces to build community for folks often online. In our Discord server, we held movie nights, we have study lounges, answer questions from prospective students, and also post photos of our pets. We also share food and boba recommendations around Seattle. Recently, we've seen a lot of our students sharing job openings at their current roles. It's a great online space to be connected whenever you want to be connected to Comm Lead. Another thing, too, that we've established is a quarterly program feedback form. As staff, we want to know how your sense of belonging is in Comm Lead. Every quarter may feel different in terms of building that belonging. So we offer a quarterly program feedback form that gives you a chance to let us know how we're doing, either in your social engagement, your curriculum, and other aspects of the program. This is how we build events and programs that match what you're looking for in Comm Lead. Ultimately, we cater our community engagement to your needs. This quarter, as we find some return to normalcy, our first community events have been reacquainting ourselves with campus. We held a campus tour, and throughout the first few weeks, we've been planning museum trips for Comm Lead students or get-togethers at UW events such as the Big W Day. We've also just created and hired a new student position, the Community Engagement Coordinator, who will keep their pulse on the Comm Lead community and develop social events and programs. Our community is at its best when we come together, and we will continue to strengthen that. And with that, I actually pass it back to Akin. I look forward to chatting with all of you further in the breakout rooms.
Exactly. And again, this is just a quick introduction to some core themes and elements of our program. Feel free to share your questions if you're here joining us via Zoom on the chat again and in the room as well. You will have ample opportunities to ask us questions. Now that we started talking a little bit about our community, which is very strong, and thank you for sharing that, Jazz, I want to also give us a quick sense of our classes. What is it like to take a class in the program? What type of classes we offer? What are curricular areas that our classes are placed under? So for that, I now want to engage Heather Werkel, who is the Assistant Director of our Academic Services at the program. So Heather, can you give us a sense of our classes and curriculum?
Yeah, thank you, Akin. And hello, everyone. I'm Heather Werkel. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Assistant Director of Academic Services, as Akin said. And what that means is I help students choose their classes to register for each quarter and ensure they're meeting the degree requirements so they can graduate on time. So any academic questions, I'm definitely the first person to come to for that. First, we have the graphic here is our curricular specialization. So within the program, we have our 3 degrees, but then for our actual classes, we have 8 different areas of classes that we offer in terms of content and topics that are the general kind of buckets that classes will fall into. And those 8 specializations are listed here. You have the opportunity in the program to kind of tailor your electives to fit into one or more of these if you're wanting to really specialize in an area that is a skill industry is seeking, which all of these represent. So we have students very interested in storytelling, for example, who will try to take as many storytelling classes as possible. Or our communication and culture is another one where students can tailor their classes and fit into that. So these 8 different areas in the program, they're not required for MCDM and MCCN students, but if you're an MCCL, the Communication Leadership degree student, you're actually required to complete at least one of these specializations to really tailor your degree as part of your elective. So it's a way you can focus and make sure that you're getting the skills out of the program that you're hoping to. And you can also message this to companies on your LinkedIn or your resume saying that you specialized in one of these areas within your degree. So with that kind of overview look at these 8 areas in general, I wanted to look at some of the classes we're offering next quarter as an example of some of the specific classes you might take in the program. So we have 2 new classes that are going to be offered for the first time in winter that we're very excited about. The first one I wanted to mention is Designing Inclusive Workplace Culture, which is being taught by Lakita Williams. This is a new class where students are going to learn the 5 components of inclusive culture framework and apply this to build a culture plan for a company. So a lot of students are very excited about this opportunity to think about how they can apply issues of inclusivity in their workplace in different contexts. We also have a new class being offered in winter by Jason Levine and Peter Skillman. It's a co-taught class that is an advanced user design, a UX studio class. So in this class, students are going to get to work in small groups to design and prototype a user-centered solution to a real-world problem and develop an application ultimately. So it's a really hands-on studio-focused class. Again, very excited our students will have that opportunity in the winter. And then also in winter, we have some of our perennial favorite classes that are been offered for many years and are always popular among students, such as Rob Salkowitz's The Future of Marketing, which looks at what is happening in marketing, advertising, PR in that kind of 2 to 4 year horizon. What are strategies of successful marketing organizations? Foundations of Audio Storytelling, which is taught by a couple of different faculty, is a production class that focuses on podcasts and different elements of audio production and storytelling. So it looks at the evolution of that kind of storytelling, and then what does it take to make a good audio story? say in contrast to video or different formats. And then crisis communication is always a very popular class. It's being taught in winter by Anna Wisniewski, who's actually an alumni of our program and an expert in crisis communication. And this class helps students deal with things like we all have been in the past few years. You know, how do you do a good job at crisis communication, whatever it might be, and whether it's a real or perceived crisis for your company, you still have different elements of communication you need to address there. So that's just a snippet of some of the classes being offered in winter to give you an idea of the type of classes that you might take in the program. Another element of our program that is very key to the experience for students are class client projects. So a lot of classes will have a direct client project that you're working on. So you're working with an organization to apply the skill you're learning in the class to a real world problem or situation. So here's just a few examples from this year. There's a multicultural marketing class this fall where a team of students is working with King County elections on a marketing campaign to encourage higher voter turnout in the East African community in King County. We also have the fall class in data insights for social impact, where students are working with Restart Partners, which is a nonprofit that promotes COVID-19 vaccination and mask wearing behaviors. And they're using data analysis to understand the efficacy of those social media campaigns to promote those behaviors. In content marketing, so another class being offered this fall, students are working with UW's Office of Graduate Student Equity and Excellence, recently renamed GC from GoMap, which you may have heard of before if you're a UW student. We're working with that office to improve recruitment efforts for graduate students of color. So those are just a few examples. We have so many class client projects that happen across the curriculum where students really get to build those portfolio pieces and work with an organization that's in need of some help with the communication problem that they're encountering. So with that, I will turn it back to Ken to introduce our next section.
Thank you, Heather. And thank you for that overview. Yes, all of our classes are very popular and very exciting. And so we look forward to you engaging with those classes when you become a student in our program as well. Now, actually talking about students, we're joined by two of the students of our program who will all engage in a conversation because they'll be able to give you a sense of that decision-making process, how they selected this program and how it's helping them out and what their experience has been so far. Before I introduce them too, I just want to remind again to everyone that you can, again, beyond the questions I'm asking, we'll have a Q&A portion at the end. Please make sure to tell us who you're directing the question to. Let it be again in the index cards in the room or on the chat here. So say I want this question to be answered by a student or an alumni or a staff member, or our specific names would be fine as well. Just want to make sure that you have ample chances to engage with us and ask all your questions. But a group of people that I think will really help you answer some of those questions are current students in the program who were in your shoes just a couple years ago. So I'm joined by Lexi and Shahid, who are a part of our community. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Great, thank you, Akin.
So we invited, and we have also students, current students in the room as well. So you can engage our current students in the room after this conversation as well. But I wanted to really engage in a conversation with Lexi and Shahid to get a sense of your own process with the program as previously prospective, now current students in the program. So how did you choose Comm Lead will be the broad theme, but I want to ask first and foremost, how you found our program. So how did you find Comm Lead? Maybe we can start with you, Lexi.
Yeah, sure. So before Comm Lead, I worked as a project manager at an advertising agency. At that time, I was kind of at the bottleneck of my early career, and I was looking for a graduate program that could, offer new challenges and ideas. So I searched online for master's program in communication, and I also lean towards going to a university that has a good ranking and it's well known in my home country. I come from China, by the way, and UW is definitely a very good one, and that's how I found Comm Lead. And I'm actually very interested in how folks here today find Comm Lead. So feel free to drop your answer in the chat box. I'd love to hear.
Exactly. Always interesting, right? This reveals so much about our journeys and how we come across something. So exactly as Lexi said, those of you joining via Zoom, please feel free to share with us how you came across our program too. And Shahid, I know we talked about this a little bit. Your journey is a little bit different. What were you doing and how did you find our program?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, I'm really excited to be here, and I do see some of the folks, joining from out of the country. I saw somebody from Argentina, other person, tuning in from a car. So I see so much passion already even before joining the program. So it's really great to see that. And for me personally, it's online. I was looking for an advanced degree in marketing and communications, and that's how I found a couple of the programs in the US. I'm from Canada, so I wanted to do this program in the US. So I just looked for a couple of programs, and this is one of the top 3 programs that I considered applying. And so it's really online, that I found by Googling, to be specific.
And maybe just to dive a bit deeper into that process, Shahid, maybe we can continue with you. So what factors did you consider while applying for the program? After you found it, what kind of led you to us?
Yeah, for sure. So it's really classes. So I can really relate to what Heather just talked about. I was really fascinated by the classes that I would be able to take, and Comm Lead does really good job. You can go to their website, and it has all the classes, not only for this quarter, but actually the previous quarter. So you could literally see not only the title of the classes, but the descriptions. And I actually saw that future of marketing, and I'm pretty involved in what's happening in the world. So when I saw that even the title future of marketing, I did not find that at other schools that I was exploring. So it's really classes, because I found out from that it's sort of, if you can think of it this way, you can either build your house or you can buy your house. So that way I kind of resonated with this program, is that this is about building your house that way you want to, as opposed to, somebody built a house and then you just go buy it. And then of course, oh, I don't like the kitchen, or I wish the window would be this, right at this place, right? So that would be other programs at other universities. Whereas here, they're giving you the land, right? So you have the land, and now you have the tools, and all these classes are separate tools. So if you want to really want a window where you could see the mountains, then you do storytelling. That could be the window, right? So you're building your own house with your own hands. So that's how I kind of related to this program, is that this is an opportunity to really build my own career house. Let's say, put it that way.
Kayati is also saying it, and I agree. It's on the Zoom chat. What a great analogy, Shahid. I really appreciate that. And indeed, that diversity of experiences and options really allow you to build a program that reflects who you are as you grow as professionals in the program. Lexi, I want to ask you about that process, both the factors maybe, and we can combine it. So Shahid mentioned some of those factors. And how did you end up deciding on the final decision of the program too, if you could give us a sense of that?
Yeah, sure. Actually, my considerations before applying the program were pretty similar to Shahid's. So in terms of making the final decision, there are just so many reasons why I eventually chose Comm Lead over another great offer I got. Some are quite superficial, like location. I know Seattle's weather, how people says about Seattle's weather, unfortunately it's true, but for me, I like hiking, I like outdoor activities, skiing. So it's just the perfect place for me. And also there are many great Chinese restaurants in U District. Another reason is the fact that Comm Lead is a STEM designated program, which is a huge advantage for international students like me, meaning we will get 3 years of OPT to legally work in the US. And another reason I would say was that I simply loved all communications I had with Comm Lead people along the way. Before I apply, while applying, and after I got the offer, because things can sometimes be really hard for international students, especially I applied before COVID and got the offer after COVID broke out. And there are so many issues with visa registration. But I Comm Lead, if there's always someone to help and to talk to, and there's much flexibilities given to the students. I feel not just respected, but welcome and cared for. That's why I end up here.
Well, we're very lucky to have you amidst us, Lexi. And this final question I want to ask both of you. So you came here to our program with different career goals. And I know, Shahid, you just started, and Lexi, you've been navigating the program for a bit longer, but how has it been helping you to advance your career so far? Based on what your classes, your experiences, what you've seen, how is it helping that? Maybe, Shahid, we can start with you, and then Lexi, I would love to hear from you as well.
Awesome. So again, going back to what I just covered, actually, so I'm taking one of the popular classes that Heather talked about, again, the foundation of audio storytelling this quarter. And I'll just give you an example. So there was a story that was just in me, but I was just trying to tell, and then I couldn't tell for over 2 years now. And this is my first quarter. I just started, and through this audio storytelling class, because we have this feature project that we have to do at the end of the quarter. So this is the first time I'm actually telling that story. So I wouldn't be able to tell you how fascinated I am to be able to tell this story, and because of the instructor. So really going back to what Lexi talked about, you really feel that caring from all sides. So before even actually I applied, I talked to one current student over LinkedIn. So I connected with that person. Feel free to do that. You'll find whoever's doing this program. And I had that sense of feeling from that person, and she was loving the program. And all the way through the application process, I felt that caring too. And of course, final thing I would say, I did have the opportunity to meet Dr. Yakin after I came here, and I felt that as well, that she remembered everything from my application, and it's really so authentic, so caring. At times you don't feel that even during the application process with other universities, and I always say one thing, that morning shows the day, and when you feel that caring from day one, most likely it will carry through your program, and that's been the case for me up until now. So that's where I'll end.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Shahid, and it's a pleasure to have you in class too. And I'll see you in class right after this session too. The two of us have a class session tonight. Lexi, I want to hear from you too, because you engaged with a variety of different experiences in the program too, having been engaged for a while now. Could you share with us how our program is helping your career?
Yeah, sure. By joining Comm Lead, I was actually looking for curriculum that are more professional and industry related that could really benefit my career. And at Comm Lead, I was introduced to the concept of UX, user experience, after I joined the program. And in our curriculum, there's one specialization called user experience and content strategy, as Heather briefly mentioned. And I found that UX is such human-centered and evidence and data-based, which I'm really into, and I become super interested in pivoting my career to UX. And it's really great for me that Comm Lead offers a few UX classes each quarter. And like Heather just mentioned, we have new classes adding in that respond to the new trends and new practices in the industry. So I could gradually build up my muscle in this field. And also, there are many opportunities provided by the program, such as partner program and consultancy, to help students really gain hands-on experience. I took part in partner program and also consultancy, and really enjoyed the project. And I got the chance to work with real-world clients and have like some project that I could put into my portfolio. I love to share more in the breakout rooms if anyone's interested.
Thank you, Lexi. Yes, our partner program and consultancy are two ways in which our students work with organizations that exist out there in the world. In addition to our classes, we have a number of beyond the classroom learning opportunities where you get to actually work and collaborate with organizations. So it's a great way to, as Lexi mentioned, with your portfolio. I want to thank our students. And again, they'll be in a breakout room in the Zoom section, but there are, again, students in the actual room as well. So finally, and as we're coming into this section, I want to introduce one more person and ask their perspective about our program too. Please feel free to, again, share your questions, anything we haven't addressed, as we're going to move into the more open to everyone Q&A section right after I ask our alumni, Kayati, about how she's navigating her professional life after the program. But feel free to share those questions either in the chat or in the index cards as well. So I'm joined also very thrilled to see again our alumni, Kayati, who I got a chance to closely work with during her time in the program. Kayati, I want to bring in your perspective as an alumni to tell us about how the degree came into play now that you're graduated, right? You have a job. And so how did it help that process? And how is it helping you with your new journey?
Thank you, Akin. It's really nice to see all the familiar faces and the new ones. Hi, everyone. I'm Khyati. I graduated from the program earlier this year, and I am currently working as a content and social media specialist with Impinge, which is a B2B tech company in Seattle. So, I mean, I think I'll talk about the most important element that I found at Comm Lead, which is, like Heather and Jazz and everyone mentioned earlier, which is the community element. So I feel like the guest speakers and other alumni that you come in contact with through the program just become really valuable mentors and just people you can connect with. Most classes have a lot of guest speakers that come in that the professors bring in, and they come from diverse career backgrounds and they have years of experience in different areas. And you don't just have the opportunity to hear them talk about their day-to-day work or different kinds of roles in different fields. You also get the chance to kind of connect with them. And then I've had a couple of instances where they kind of answered all the questions I had even outside the class where they were coming and speaking. So again, people in this community are very welcoming and very helpful. And I think the most important element for me was that I found mentors in the Comm Lead alumni program that we had, which was like a mentorship program. And I found two mentors there, Armin and Gail, and both of whom were alumni when I was studying. And I'm currently now just working as a part of Gail's team at Impinge, which is where she referred me. But she continues to mentor me at Impinge and beyond, even just outside of my role and my company. So I think, again, the element of being able to meet different people and just, get inspired from them is priceless for me. I think also the other element is classwork, where you end up working on things, projects, submissions, papers, all of which kind of become excellent portfolio pieces or just pieces that you can talk about, publish somewhere, just kind of put your work out there in the world. None of the classwork is ever like, it's meant to show people, it's meant to show outside and show your caliber and show what you're working on. And depending on the classes you take, some of them are ready to be put into your portfolio directly, or some of them are papers that you work on, research papers that you can publish and talk about and have conversations about on public forums with people. So that also is a very big element in kind of establishing the link between what you're studying and what you want to do in your career. So I feel like these two are very important elements. The other thing about the alumni network is also that if you find, if you kind of look at the communities that we've built on different platforms like Discord that Jazz mentioned, or LinkedIn and stuff, I think a lot of comm leaders just come to Comm Lead when they know people or when they know teams that are hiring, because they know the caliber of the people that come out of this program. So it becomes a great two-way setup where they find great candidates or eventually employees, and Comm Lead students get exposed or get the chance to kind of get referred for different kinds of roles that they're looking for. So that also works to everyone's benefit. And like this session, I think there's all kinds of extracurricular events and talks and conferences that you get the chance to attend. And again, meet different people that you probably might not if you wouldn't be a part of these events. So there's always a talk or a panel to attend. And If there isn't, there's always a chance, you always have the chance to just kind of reach out to a professor, reach out to a faculty or staff, just reach out to someone, even alumni, and ask for a chat, ask for their time, and people are always ready to just help you out and answer the questions you have. So
thank you. That's a very helpful way of understanding our program. And again, thank you also for highlighting our Alumni Mentor program, which we launched last year as a way of connecting our alumni in kind of a one-on-one way around career interests to mentor our existing students as they navigate their career journey. And Kayati had a very positive experience in the sense it worked across levels. So thank you for sharing that too, Kayati. And I'm sure those who are in this session will have multiple questions to you in the breakout session too. So thank you for your perspective. With that, now that we've given you some general outline of our program, we want to transition into a section where we hear from you. We've answered some of your questions, and or rather, we answered some of our questions to introduce you to some of the core elements of the program. We are turning to your questions. Again, we'll spend about 15 or so minutes on the questions. And then we're going to have, again, on Zoom and breakout rooms where you can have more interpersonal connections with the people and ask in a conversation setting, talk to one another. So we want to make time for that too. But we also want to address your questions in the recorded portion of the sessions. So the first question comes from Lige around our UX courses. And maybe I can engage Lexi around this question, if that's okay. Lexi, because this is, you just mentioned your interest in UX and having how you used our program or how you used the channel, our classes as a vessel to find out more about this field. So the question from one of our prospective students is, I'm interested in what difference is there between communication leadership UX courses and other UX master's programs. Lexi, can you speak to that for a little bit?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question. I'm not sure about what other UX focused master program is like, but for Comm Lead, I would say it's definitely a good choice if you don't have much background in UX. Because I know I'm going to assume that for other UX focused master's program, they will require you to have some sort of experience or at least educational background in UX or human-computer interaction or user-centered design. But for Comm Lead, there is like a bunch of classes that would help you to start from zero, start from nothing, and then begin this process to gradually build up your skills, build up your knowledge, and then finally come up with an idea or some sort of design output that really can showcase your progress along the way.
Thank you, Lexi. And I just want to also mention that we constantly talk to industry professionals about what makes our program different in this field. One thing that I can say is many programs that are UX specific does not necessarily cover the other aspects of communication and leadership, which is essential for UX practice. Working in teams, communicating collaboratively across cross-functional teams. All of those things are actually very much embedded in our program. So our students get a very cross-functional and cross-disciplinary and cross-field approach in our program. But because it's not limited to UX, our students actually engage in classes across a variety of different contexts. So we can dive into that more in the conversations afterwards as well. I'm seeing tons and tons of questions in the chat too, and I want to make sure that we cover all of them. So the next question is maybe Heather, I can engage with you for this one. Do you know yet if fall 2022 classes will be hybrid or in person? How many students are typically in the program and in a classroom? This is from Jenny.
Yeah, happy to address this. And this has been, you know, the $20,000 question from everyone for every quarter of the past 18 months or so. So we do not know what the University of Washington's, decision will be really at this point for even spring quarter and beyond, because UW has been very adaptive to the pandemic and making decisions shortly before each quarter to determine what's the best situation for our students and faculty and community in terms of public health and safety and also the learning experience. So it's been a quarter by quarter process. Except for winter quarter, we have moved mostly back to hybrid or in-person classes. We have 4 classes that are online for winter. And then we've just started looking forward to spring. So it will all depend on the course of the pandemic. Our program is primarily an in-person program. So that is our plan to return to that as much as we can once it's safe to do so. As far as how many students are in the program, we tend to admit around 100 students each fall for the last few years. It's gone up a bit from the past, but it's around 100 students each year. And then each class is typically capped at about 20 students. Sometimes there are hands-on studio classes like video production classes or audio production that might be a little smaller, so they might be capped at 16, but 20 is pretty much the average for most of our classes, with the exception of our 2 core classes that students all take in their first year in the program. 501, which is the one that Ken and Shahid will be going off to right after this, has the entire incoming cohort in that class. And then 502 is the second core class, which is also that entire first year cohort. So I hope that answers your question, Jenny.
Thank you, Heather. So the next question comes from Taylor. I can answer that, but those of you in the joining us, let it be students or alumni too, if you want to answer, help me answer this question too, you're more than welcome to. So a question from Taylor is about if our program, Taylor has a background in marketing and wants to transition into diversity and leadership work. Does the community leadership specialization have a strong emphasis on diversity and inclusion work? Taylor, indeed it does. We have a number of classes, and I think Heather mentioned, for example, Building Inclusive Cultures class that's going to be offered next quarter. That's one class. We have a number of classes about power and privilege at work and in general across contexts. So this is an area we explore also not just in that specialization, but in the subject matter that you're familiar with. One of our very popular classes is multicultural marketing. Particularly bringing in a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens into the practice of marketing itself. So you can find some intersections in your current work, but then also in your future work in our community as well. So I hope that answers your question, Taylor. I just want to read a question from the room that Liao is sharing with us as well. She's typing your questions on your behalf. Liao asks, Liao, on behalf of our student in the room, asks, is there a thesis and what funding options do you have? I will turn this over again to Heather.
Thanks again. So very different questions. I'll try to address them both quickly. So Comm Lead degrees are professional degrees. So we are a non-thesis program. We're designed for people who, rather than pursuing an academic degree to maybe go on to a PhD and become a faculty member, are looking to go get a job in industry. And so we are a non-thesis program. That said, we do have opportunities for research within the program. So we have a number of students who choose to do independent research projects with a faculty member, and some will even do what we call a Comm Lead 600, which is a thesis-like project that involves 2 faculty supervisors, a public presentation. So it's a larger opportunity for people to explore research and do a focused research project if they're wanting to do that as part of their electives. For funding options, our program is, all of our degrees are eligible for federal financial aid, and a lot of students will use that to get through the program. And we also have, I'm getting the link here, we have a fees and financing page on our website that has a number of funding resources. I'm putting that in the chat right now, our tuition page, where you can find different ways to help fund the program. One of the direct ways that we help fund students is through our partner program or consultancy opportunities, which are paid opportunities where you get that experience working for an organization and also get paid to do that to help with your tuition.
Thank you, Heather. So I'll move on to a question from Ali, and there are a few questions. If I'm not getting to them now, maybe Heather, you can tackle a couple on the chat as well. For example, there's a question from Emily about study abroad options too. Ali is asking a question that many of you may have around deciding which track is best for them. Let it be communities and networks, digital media, or communication leadership. Ali says, I'm looking to beef up my knowledge of what I've learned on the job over the last decade with this program. So I'm going to turn it over to Kayati, Lexi, and Shahid. Can you tell us what track you are and why you chose that particular track? Maybe that might help our prospective student. Maybe we can start with you, Kayati.
Yeah, sure. So I was in the MCDM track, which is the digital marketing track. And I think, unfortunately, unlike Ali, I was kind of sure about picking that track right from the beginning, but I based that decision on the classes that were offered within the track. And I felt like the classes that were being offered within the DM track were the ones that I really wanted. Those are the skills I wanted to build for the career that I wanted after Comm Lead. So that was my biggest point for making the decision. But having said that, I think also, as a lot of people here might agree, is that you get the chance to kind of take classes in the other track as well. I think you have a few credits that you can use to take classes in the other track. So if you pick one, it's not like you just cannot learn anything from the other track. So I did. I took 10 credits in the MCCN track as well. So I think that you always have that some element of flexibility even after the decision you make.
Thank you. And maybe one more of you is Shahid or Lexi, is one of you MCCN?
I'm doing DMs, so digital media.
I think we have all DMs, but we have some CNs in the room as well, Ali. But so what made you decide, maybe Shahid, I can ask you this, and then I have another follow-up question from the chat. Go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. So I was actually looking at in terms of acquiring really some hard skills in the digital media field, and it just resonated with me given where everything is going. And it's one of those skills where it cuts across all fields. So that's what was attracting, because digital media you can apply to pretty much any field right now, and that's something that was really attractive when I was looking at different options.
Thank you. And maybe to give a sense of the program too, a question came up that I want to engage again, one or two of you, both alumni and current students. They're asking about a project that you've been involved in that has been fun and exciting in your classes. Can one of you share kind of a class project that you're working on that you can talk about that speaks to either a challenge or excitement?
I can go. So it's one of those storytelling projects that I talked about a bit, but this is something, again, you're really learning skill even from zero, as Lexi even talked about. So like UX, it's okay if you don't have any background, you just can start from zero and then go to hero, so to speak, from there. So audio storytelling also, although it's just a 10-week class, but you're learning everything from what is audio storytelling to actually creating your own podcast of 4 to 8 minutes. So it was really fun to kind of learn the whole process, how seasoned journalists do that. And you hear from different guests as well during the class, how they're producing, their audio, even from NPR and all this, great organizations. So you learn the fundamentals, and then you have that opportunity to apply that to your own project. So this is the first time, like, you pick your own story. Again, going back to that building your own house with own hands kind of, scenario. So in this project, every single student is deciding what story they want to tell, applying, what we learned throughout the program. And of course, the instructors are very helpful. They will stay after class if you have anything you want to run by them, they're always there, even past their, our classes are in the evenings, right? So we're talking about this particular class, 6 to 10 p.m. And when you have your instructor actually staying beyond 10 p.m., that should say something, not only about the instructors, but actually about the program. So I think that's what I would say. It's really fun, and working on a podcast right now. Again, as I said, I've been trying to tell this story for over 2 years now, and this is the first time we'll be able to tell that story through this class. So I'm super excited, and it's been fun so far.
Thank you. There was a question to me about what we look for in an application and what makes an application stand out. And I can quickly answer that there's no quick answer, but we really want to get a sense of you, your story, your motivations, and how we match with that. Successful applications often give us a sense of the applicant's trajectory and journey, but also gives us a sense of how our program contributes to that journey as well. So that could be an early clue. But again, there are throughout the process too, we're here to answer your questions. Don't think that you'll just fill in the application and it goes nowhere. We are carefully looking at your applications, and during the process, please feel free to reach out to us too with any questions. This is again a question for our students and alumni. So I believe you've seen many different stories throughout your career, but I was wondering, what are some key elements you've seen on students that makes them successful in the program and they get their target jobs in the space? Maybe I'm going to ask all of the students that are joining us are very successful in doing the best of making the best of the program. What are some key things you're trying to do or you're doing in the program that allows you to make the most of it? I'll start with Kayati, who navigated the program for a while. What would you say of some tips for being successful in the program?
Yeah, I think I would kind of repeat what I said earlier. It's just the element of being able to make different connections, because you obviously learn a lot in class, but I think what is also equally important is to find the people or find the community that you can learn from, that can understand where you come from and what you want to do, and then kind of find that synergy and just get those opportunities, the ones that you're really looking for. So I feel like one of the things I learned, or I kind of wished I did differently maybe initially, was that I learned early on that kind of making those connections, I would have started making those connections earlier than I did. So I think that's very important in terms of being able to make that decision and make that space for yourself in the program.
Thank you. We have, again, a number of questions, and I just want to make sure that you also, so if I'm not able to get to your question now, please feel free to ask them in the breakout rooms, more interpersonally and in a conversation style in just a minute. And those of you in the classroom too, you're joined by both staff and students. So you're also more than welcome to ask them your questions if I can't get to them. And I know Heather is answering some of them as well. So one question is about where our students work, and that's just one that I wanted to quickly address. This is on our website too, but our students work both in for-profit and nonprofit entities all around the world. That's one of the most unique aspects of our program. We also have students who they later on founded their own consulting business and run their own business. Those who work in for-profit entities that may be of names that you may recognize. We have a number of alumni in organizations like Microsoft, Amazon, Starbucks, to name a few technological tech companies that are in our region, as well as Facebook and Instagram as well. But we also have many students, again, who are involved in nonprofit work, working across organizations, who really do advocacy across contexts. And we can share a full list of those alumni with you if you can reach out to us. With that, again, I want to dedicate some time to you really connecting. So what's going to happen now? We're going to kind of transition in Zoom to a breakout portion where you're going to see different rooms joined by either alumni, students, or staff. Unfortunately, I can't join because I have to prep for my class, but I'm thrilled to be with you nonetheless. So please feel free to reach out to me. And I'm sharing my email in the chat, but for those of you in the classroom, it's ekiny@uw.edu. Feel free to reach out to me anytime with any questions you may have about this process. We're thrilled to meet you.